Good morning. I want to welcome everyone who's joined us on this rainy second day of spring, March 21st, 2017, and thank you all who have made the trek down here in the rain and joining us maybe for the first time. But we certainly extend our welcome, and hopefully you'll join us again. With that, I just want to call this meeting to order and invite those who wish to address the board on any item to fill out a speaker identification form, which is in the back of the room on items that are on the agenda or not on the agenda. And we have a number of presentations, some very special guests here this morning, so we'll get to those in a few moments once we get into the agenda. And I'll have the clerk call the roll to establish a quorum. And with that, Flo, please do that and make any other announcements, and then we'll go forward. So.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Supervisors Cerna?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Peters?
Here.
Frost? Here. Natoli?
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, March 24th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may fill out a speaker slip and hand it to staff. When the chair calls your name, please come to the podium. And also, please silence your electronic devices at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Flo. If I could invite our Girl Scout troop to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, would one of you want to come to the podium and just ask us to put our hand over heart? And so if one of you or all of you want to come there and just invite you to lead us. Come right up to the microphone there. I should have told you ahead of time.
Girl Scouts are always prepared.
They're always prepared.
Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you very, very much, young ladies. Okay. All right, with that then, thanking our Girl Scout troop, we're going to get a chance to be introduced to them a little more in a few moments, but with that, Flo, I'll turn to you on agenda items to be continued or added. And
okay. So for your consent matters, you have one addendum item, A1. It's a resolution recognizing Girl Scouts Heart of Central California upon celebrating the 100th anniversary of Girl Scout cookie sales. Also, on your regular agenda, you are introducing an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 9.36 of the Sacramento County Code relating to consumption of alcoholic beverages, use of motorized bicycles and vehicles on bike trails, and games permitted in regional parks. You are waiving full reading and continuing to April 11th for adoption. And then I also have a title correction for item 31. It's the resolution proclaiming April 6th, 2017 as Talk, They Hear You Day in Sacramento County. And that concludes my notes.
okay, thank you, Flo. All right, with that, let me turn to my right. Supervisor Frost, any items to be continued or you want to call for the agenda? Okay, Ms. Peters?
Yes, I'd like the record to reflect I'm recusing myself from item 17 due to a business conflict.
Okay. So noted. Mr. Kennedy? Mr. Cerna? All right, and I have no items as well. I did note, though, our item on the Mental Health Services Act update that maybe in the future, again, I think because of the substance of that item, it's actually item number 6, that we may put that as a separate matter in the future, and then, again, if there's no questions, certainly it can be acted upon quickly. But I think just in light of certainly the discussion we're going to have this afternoon, and a number of other things that are embedded in that beyond just a consent item that gets received and filed, and certainly people can look at that and ask questions. I would suggest that in the future, particularly with some of the ongoing work, that we have that as called out as an item. So
Absolutely, we'll do that.
okay. Mr. County Executive, any item you wanted to call on anything else on the agenda then?
No.
Okay. All right. With that then, I had no one sign up to speak. Anyone here wish to address any item on the consent calendar here this morning? All right. Seeing none, then noting the recusal by Supervisor Peters on item 17, a motion would be in order to approve the balance of the consent calendar, including the addendum agenda, and then we'll take that item. That'll be our last presentation after we do the other ones that are on the regular schedule. Okay. All right, we have a motion?
Move consent.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, moving second to approve consent. Nothing further, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
And also noting recusal by Supervisor Peters.
Supervisor Peters recused from item 17.
Very good, thank you. Okay, with that, then we'll go into some of our presentations for our timed items.
Okay, for your first presentation, item 43, it's a service award for Albert Edwards, recognizing 30 years of county service.
Okay. Good morning. Yeah. You can step between the two. If you step between the two of them, you can raise the podium up. It'll make it easier maybe for doing the presentation.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Keith Leach, Supervisor Natoli, and members of the Board of Supervisors. I am your Chief of Fleet Services and the Parking Enterprise.
Good morning, Keith. Is this your first presentation before
This
the
is
board?
my first presentation. Mr. Morris is on vacation this week.
Okay, well,
for the
good.
remainder of the week.
We welcome you, and it's good to see you, and certainly our honoree as well. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here today to recognize Mr. Albert Edwards for 30 years of service. He was hired as an equipment mechanic on October 6, 1986, and has worked at the Regional Treatment Plant Heavy Equipment Shop since 1995. Al has been an exceptional technician with a vast knowledge of the processes at our facility and the equipment needed to perform that work. Al has excelled in troubleshooting, diagnostics, and repairs, as well as welding and fabrication. We're here today to congratulate and honor Mr. Albert Edwards. Thank you very much.
Very good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Albert, this is your opportunity. We're on live television here, so if you want to step between the microphones and tell us anything we should know about about mechanicking or Girl Scout cookies or anything. No? Congratulations, Albert. Thank you for your service and for keeping things in good working order. Again, I think oftentimes we take for granted that things get done, and whether it's those who clean the building, to repair the equipment, maintain our fleet, and so forth, and those are very, very important items for safety, but certainly for the functionality of the services that are provided to people of this county. So we thank you and your colleagues for your good work. Again, congratulations on 30 years. So, okay, with that.
Okay, our next presentation, item 44, is the presentation of resolution honoring William Safford on the occasion of his retirement.
Okay. Jeff, you going to make some introductory comments?
Got Ranger Safford and Chief Ranger Doan coming down as well. Just to celebrate the opportunity, Will Safford to my right in his retirement after 25 years. And I find myself in kind of that distinct pleasure as the Director of Regional Parks to be able to direct and supervise law enforcement officers here in Sacramento County with our park rangers. And it is an absolute pleasure to watch them do their hard work every single day, not only protecting our parks, but protecting the people within our parks. And after 25 years, we will wish Will not only a good farewell, but also he's got a lot of good adventures that we continue to talk about with mountain biking and skiing and other excellent recreation pursuits that he has coming before him. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Ranger, Mike Doan, for a couple of comments.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
It's always mixed emotion today when you have somebody celebrating somebody's retirement. And I would have read the entire resolution, but I'm still adjusting to getting older, and my glasses are sitting on my desk in the office. So I'm just going to get the highlights. Will is one of the success stories with the county because he actually started with the Department of Parks as a park ranger assistant, which he served in a few years before he got promoted to park ranger. And then he spent the remainder 20 years with the department as a park ranger. And he also got to go through the whole progression of the service of park ranger from the very beginning to ultimately where we are now with being a recognized state agency with peace officer standard and training and being a full-time peace officer. So he got to live it all. And as a chief ranger coming in, only being here 2 years, the value that senior rangers have to an organization with being able to share the history of the organization and why things work on the parkway is very valuable to me. So we're going to miss that that service that he provided to our agency, and to me in particular, with having the agency history. He served on a number of joint task force in his capacity as a ranger, working with city police and the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. And he also served for 4 years on our homeless illegal camping team. So about 6 years with our illegal camping team, which was a wealth of knowledge on that issue for us. So again, it's with mixed emotions that we're celebrating his retirement, but it's also with a sad heart that he's actually leaving our service and leaving that vacancy with our department. So I just want to congratulate him and thank him for his years of public service as a peace officer with the regional park system. And Ranger Coleman actually has a short presentation to give to him as well.
We, as a tradition, we usually give our retired rangers a retired peace officer badge. So with the union and the other rangers, we pitched in and got this for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Michael, and our
Stacy, nice to meet you.
Stacy, good to see you, and thank you. I think Chief Doan covered most of your careers, at least some of the highlights. And I'll just note, as he said, career spent certainly the majority of it here with Sacramento County Parks, Open Space and Recreation, and a lot of good work. I'm sure the folks you've encountered over the years have appreciated your work as a ranger, certainly your I think concern for the public safety, and whether they be a casual user or a regular user or a visitor, just a one-time visitor to one of our park facilities. You and your colleagues have, throughout the years, continued to make our places of public interest, certainly our parks, ones that are hopefully enjoyable and safe. And again, I'm sure you come to the aid and rescue, and you can probably share some of those stories. Many of them, obviously, working in concert with your colleagues and other county members of our county family, whether it be law enforcement, code enforcement, our navigators, more recently, obviously, working with some of the folks in our parkway and other public areas. The one thing that wasn't mentioned here, and was just alluded to briefly in Jeff's comments, I know we attempted to try to get some information, talks all about your work, but doesn't talk about what you're going to do next. And so we have one warehouse is missing, but that's the rest of your certainly retired life, and I'll let you share with us, Will. But I want to thank you for your service to this county. I know you've served on the Parks and Recreation Commission in the city of Folsom, I believe, and have in other civic capacities volunteered and given of your time and certainly of your experience and a wealth of information. And 25 years, more than 25 years of service to the people of Sacramento County. We want to express our gratitude for that, for your dedication. Wish you well in retirement, and extend our best wishes for good health, much happiness, and many blessings in the years to come. Well, congratulations to you.
I just want to thank everyone for showing up from our department. I really appreciate the honor of our chief, and Commander Lumsden's here also. My future right now, I'm just in between jobs. I'm enjoying my retirement. I've been off about 6 weeks, and I still use the Parkway all the time. I live in Folsom, so I'm right next to the bike trail. Right now, like I said, I'm in between jobs. I'm not sure what the future holds. I'm hopefully going to get back into the recreational law enforcement setting at some capacity, and we'll see what the next year or so happens. And I have 2 daughters. One is in college, and another is going away to college. So
You're going back
I definitely
to work.
need to.
It's going to be a short retirement.
I still really need to increase my financial situation, but we'll see. We'll see what the next year or so holds in my future. It's like I said, it's still up in the air. But once again, I want to thank everybody from our department. I started working in '91, like I said, as a ranger assistant, and I've seen a lot of changes for good. I've always been a parks guy, and I'll see everyone's faces from the board supervisors and everybody cross paths in the future. Hopefully, I'll be working for another government agency at some point, hopefully. Thank you again.
Yeah, good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thanks a lot. And Will, when you're out there on that parkway, our county executive has been known to every once in a while to take a bike ride up and down the American River Parkway. So if you see somebody in distress with a flat tire, just keep on going. No.
Okay, for your next presentation, item 45, it's the resolution recognizing National Public Health Week, April 3rd through the 9th of 2017.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the
Hello.
Board of Supervisors. I am Dr. Olivia Cassiria, Public Health Officer, and I thank you for the opportunity for this presentation. As was mentioned, April 3rd through the 9th is National Public Health Week. And this year, the public health staff have organized several events during the week, and we are raising awareness about 7 public health priorities. These are infant health, injury prevention, STD prevention, chronic disease prevention, mental health, oral health, and emerging infectious disease prevention. I would like to thank the Sacramento County Public Health staff who work so hard to monitor the health of our communities and who take measures to promote and protect optimum health for all. I also want to thank the Board of Supervisors for your continued support and your trust in allowing us to do our job. I also want to thank Dr. Heller, the DHHS Director, for her leadership and guidance. In the work that we do in public health, we can't do it by ourselves. We have a lot of partners, numerous partners, that are too many for me to list over here. But I would like to acknowledge Val Siebel, who is retiring, the Director of Environmental Management Department. EMD works very closely with public health on various issues, including foodborne outbreaks and other environmental issues. And this year, EMD is celebrating 10 years of the restaurant inspection placard system. This has been credited with improving restaurant health standards and reducing foodborne illnesses associated with restaurants. And this is just one example of a very successful public health intervention. I want to say a big thank you to all of our partners, and I hope that many of you will be able to join us at some of the planned events. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Kasseri, pleased to join with you certainly this morning in presenting the board resolution, which was approved just a few moments ago. Again, recognizing, as you said, National Public Health Week here in Sacramento County, April 3rd through 9th. And as you also noted, there are some planned events, and certainly the board members will get notice of those, and the community's invited to many of them. And again, I think to highlight a number of the things that you pointed out relative to the partners, both those within the county family, but certainly within the community who work every day to improve and protect public health in Sacramento and throughout our neighborhoods and our public as well as private facilities. And we want to certainly compliment your team, but also the team of folks that assist us in many ways. I want to also echo your comments, Val Seibel, who is here, and would note his leadership over more than a decade with the Environmental Management Department here in Sacramento County, and a long and stellar career in the environmental management arena. And again, we don't have a formal presentation. He has a little get-together later this week, and we get a chance to recognize him with a board resolution there. But he and certainly Dr. Heller, Numa Zajkowski, and others who work in health and mental health, environmental health, many different facets, but certainly ones that represent the whole person, the whole being, and the health of our community. And so we appreciate your leadership, Dr. Kasseri, and I know that you're always on call 24/7 in the event that there is something that threatens the public health, but you and your staff do a stellar job in helping to make our community a better place to live and certainly improve the quality of life by protecting the public health. So that being said, I want to recognize you and your department with a resolution, and again, complimenting the work that goes on, the efforts each and every day that make a difference in the lives of thousands and tens of thousands of individuals and families throughout the county of Sacramento and beyond. And we resolved by this resolution proclaiming April 3rd through 9th as National Public Health Week here in Sacramento County. Congratulations. we want to get all our health partners, if there's anybody I missed. Oh, get the rest of the team up here. Not all of them. Oh, I know all of them. Yeah. You ready to vote? Great. Good job. Yeah. Thank you, Val. Next.
Okay. For your next item, item 46, it's the presentation of resolution proclaiming April 6, 2017 as Talk, They Hear You Day in Sacramento County.
Good morning. My name is Jessica, and I'm the project director for the Coalition for a Safe and Healthy Art and Arcade, which is the prevention collaborative for the Sheriff's Community Impact Program. Today I'm here in partnership with the Sacramento County for Coalition for Youth, and today's resolution has been initiated due to the alarming rates of underage drinking in Sacramento County. As we all know, alcohol continues to be the #1 substance of abuse by youth. The California Healthy Kids Survey shows that Sacramento teens are drinking too early, too much, and too often. In fact, nearly half of all 9th graders in Sacramento County have tried alcohol, and about 1 in 10 9th graders report binge drinking in the past 30 days. Underage drinking leads to multiple negative consequences, and we truly believe the issue of underage drinking is preventable with community support.
Good morning. My name is Joelle Orrock, and I'm the coordinator of the Sacramento County Coalition for Youth. We are grateful for your support this morning as we roll out the Talk, They Hear You campaign in Sacramento County. This campaign is a national campaign developed by SAMHSA, and the goal is to prevent underage drinking among young people by providing their parents and caregivers the resources and tools that they need to start addressing the issue of alcohol use early and often at home. When we asked young people in our community, where should we start as a coalition in addressing this issue, their #1 response was parents. Parents have a strong influence on young people's decisions around alcohol use, and when parents know about the issues around underage drinking, they can protect their children from the many high risks due to underage drinking. And parents who don't discourage their young people for drinking, they indirectly influence them. So by not saying anything, they're saying something. This campaign is threefold. It begins with introducing parents to the awareness of the risks and the prevalence of underage drinking. It equips parents with tools and resources and skills to talk to their young people and encourages them to act. And we're encouraging them to act, to step up and to talk to their young people early and often around alcohol use. The Sacramento County Coalition for Youth, along with the Coalition for a Safe and Healthy Art and Arcade, is going to roll out this campaign. We're trying to develop a presence in our county in the next few months. These next few months are dangerous times around drinking, with proms and graduation and summer coming, and so we're looking to roll out this campaign and have a presence. We have billboards and social media. Uptown Studios is creating some strong social media for us, and advertisements and presentations to parent groups in every possible venue that we can. We're kicking off our media event on April 6th at 10:30 a.m. at the zoo. We'd love to have any of you join us, and we're really grateful for your support, along with the strong support of the County Alcohol and Drug Services, the Department of Behavioral Health, and the Department of Health and Human Services. We really appreciate your support, so thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Melinda Avey from the Alcohol and Drug Advisory Board. And I want to thank you for your support of this really important coalition. Parents want to talk to their kids, but they don't know how. And this is a message that will help them with that, and that's really compelling. We want to thank also Lori Vallone from Alcohol and Drug Services, Uma Zaipkowski, and Sherry Heller. With your support and their support, it makes great things possible. So thank you.
Well, I thank all of our presenters this morning. Certainly these ladies and many others work in concert, obviously, with the Youth Coalition partners to, I think, address a number of issues certainly facing young people and families in our community. And this effort, obviously, will have a lot of focus this upcoming spring and early summer. And I think that the title itself, "Talk They Will," they hear you, is an important, again, a very short phrase, but one, if you reflect on it, I think really does go to the essence of communication between people of all ages, but certainly parents and caregivers and young people in our community about certainly the problems and challenges of growing up as a youngster, but also making choices about your life and your lifestyle and the temptations that come with alcohol and other drugs. And so I want to commend certainly the coalition, the work that they're doing, obviously in the Arden Arcade area and Supervisor Peters District, but throughout the county. I think it's important to highlight that young people, if they can get through some of those difficult teen years, obviously, unscathed, maybe with some of the experiences that really are tragic and make the news oftentimes, that they'll grow into productive adults and provide leadership as each of you and others do in this community. So with that, this resolution approved by the board this morning, Talk They Hear You Day, proclaimed for April 6th with a number of events, and as you said, at the zoo. Kicking that off, I know we're all invited to that, so I want to again commend you for your efforts and thank all the young people, but certainly the adult leaders and mentors in our community, and certainly our Alcohol and Drug Advisory Commission and others who have worked really hard throughout this community to make for a better place for our young people and hopefully allow them to grow up in a way that's productive but also healthy, and where they avoid some of the risk that is involved with alcohol use and abuse. So with that, we join with you in proclaiming April 6, 2017 as Talk They Hear You Day in Sacramento County. Congratulations. Good. Thanks. Is there a website that people can go to if they want more information, or is there some information you want to share? That'd be great. So
yes, our website is Sacramento CCY, Sacramento County Coalition for Youth.org, and we will have a landing page with information about the campaign right on the front of that website. So thank you so much again. Appreciate it.
Okay, for your next presentation, it's the resolution recognizing Girl Scouts Heart of Central California upon celebrating the 100th anniversary of Girl Scout cookie sales.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Van Tilburg, and I'm the Chief Development Officer at Girl Scouts Heart of Central California. On behalf of our council, I would like to thank the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors for honoring Girl Scouts Heart of Central California for the work we do in our community and for the 100th anniversary of cookie sales. We serve 18,000 girls ages 5 to 18, and we serve 18 counties. In Sacramento County alone, we serve 6,800 girls. Since 1912, Girl Scouts of the USA has been the premier leadership organization for girls. The Girl Scout Cookie Program is about much more than just cookie sales. It's financial literacy, and it teaches girls goal setting, decision making, money management, people skills, and business ethics. The proceeds from this program stay in our local communities, helping serve our girls, and with one exception, we donate cookie cases to Blue Star Moms, and through this project, thank you, you might have heard Girl Scouts say, if you can't eat them, then treat them. And what that means is customers donate their cookies instead of taking them home, and we donate them to the active military. This year, we're donating 2,000 cases to our military, and that's approximately 24,000 packages. In addition to financial literacy-based cookie program, our council provides opportunities in the area of outdoor skills, leadership, development, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and many other programs that help girls develop courage, confidence, and character. With me today are some of the girls from Troop 2621 in Elk Grove. There's Alexis, Christina, Destiny, Alana, Eliana, Samantha, and co-troop leaders Elizabeth and Carrie. Alexis was the troop top seller, and she'd like to say a few words. Thank you again for honoring Girl Scouts Heart of Central California. Alexis, do you want this one, or do you want me to? Is that good?
Hello, and thank you to everyone for having Troop 2621 here for the 100th year of the Girl Scout cookies. I also wanted to thank my mom for helping me deliver all those cookies and reaching my goal. Our troop leaders, Mrs. Liz, my mom, and Mrs. Carey, have been teaching all of us about leadership, goal setting, sales skills, customer service, people skills, and most importantly, going for the no. My mom says the answer is always no if you never ask. The one with the most no's wins, and a closed mouth doesn't get fed. We don't just do booth sales, we also make calls to old customers and family and friends. We sold over 2,500 boxes of cookies as a troop. This year, to sell over 800 boxes of cookies, I also sold cookies to my church. I did 3 group presentations. I used my mom's social media and a lot of door-to-door. All of these things will help me in the future become an entrepreneur like my parents. Thank you, and have an amazing rest of your day.
Okay, stand off here to the, you're going to say it. We do have a resolution, again, congratulating our Girl Scouts Heart of Central California Council, and certainly our Girl Scout troop from Laguna 2621, and certainly all the Girl Scouts, though, in our community, but throughout the state and in the United States, who, again, have contributed in one way or another, not only to the sale of cookies, but certainly to the program. And I think, as pointed out here, we recognize the value of our scouting programs. And actually founded in 1912, the Girl Scouts of America, now Girl Scouts of the USA, and 5 years later, started with cookie sales I guess it was in Muskogee, Illinois. And the first batches were cooked at home and then sold in the school cafeteria. I think there'd probably be some, health rules about that now, but come a long ways. And I think your familiar faces, you and your Girl Scout colleagues, during the season when the cookie sales occur, and to hear that Alexis, you did 800 boxes, and that your troop did 2,500, that's pretty amazing. And the fact that you're donating to others, helping to treat them and so forth, to the cookies and all the tasty offerings is really outstanding. So we're really pleased to have you here. I did want to note, too, that I guess the motto or slogan is Girl Scout Cookies, 100 years, 9 cookies, 5 skills, and 1 purpose. You guys knew that. I knew you knew that. So anyway, with that, we want to certainly extend our best wishes and thank your leaders, and certainly you for being with us today, to be our special guest here, and for the good, wholesome activities that you're a part of. Not just cookie sales. Obviously, it raises money, though, to support all the things that were pointed out that help in your growth and development and those that have preceded you. And as I recall, I think there's like 59 million Girl Scout alumni. Is that right? A lot of certainly young ladies and certainly women who've gone through the program and have gone on to be leaders in our nation. But I did note that 2/3 of the women in the United States Congress were former Girl Scouts, and all the female astronauts were formerly Girl Scouts. So it's pretty impressive. So maybe one of you will be an astronaut, or you'll go to be Congress, or be a member of the Board of Supervisors, or or a Scout leader. So do it all. So we have a resolution to be presented to your adult leaders, and we have a county pin to add to your collection here, which has the seal of the County of Sacramento. There's one for you. Get one more here. You. No. Oh. There you go. You earned your county merit badge. We have some for adult leaders as well. And then we'll present this to all of you. You have to cut it such ways. Share. You know how to share too, right? That's part of having cookies. So, but at any rate, we recognize you. Congratulate certainly Girl Scouts of the USA, Girl Scouts of Central California, Heart of Central California, and all of you young ladies throughout our communities, again, who bring smiles to faces. And we have to, watch our calories after the season, because I know I can eat a box or two just at one sitting. So, and you actually had a new cookie this year. What was the new cookie?
S'mores.
S'mores? Was it pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it was the cookie-versary, right? Is that what it was? This was the cookie anniversary? Cookie-versary? Yeah. Okay. All right. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I hear, uh-oh.
I was fearing this.
Special delivery here, so.
This is going to be one of those high-calorie presentations.
All right, so, well, let's get a picture of all y'all, and then we'll let you deliver some cookies to everybody here. So, can I get our leaders in here? Yeah. Did board members want to join? Sure. Come down and get your cookies? Come on down. We'll get a picture and yeah.
Want us to hold these cookies?
Oh, yeah.
I'll hold them.
Behind you then.
Okay. 10 minutes? Okay. Here. S'mores. Here's my whole s'mores. You want the, I'll trade you 10 minutes for s'mores.
One picture. Sorry, that was face. All right. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Good.
Well, is there a merit badge for public speaking?
There is.
You did a very good job today.
Yes. And thank you so much for the cookies. Anything else you want to add? Yeah.
Did you guys want to say anything else? No? Okay.
Girls, before you leave, I just want to make a comment to you, since I'm one of the 59 million people that was a Girl Scout, and my mother was a Girl Scout troop leader, and in those days, our garage was full of cookies. I mean, cases of cookies everywhere, and so my mother distributed the cookies to the Girl Scouts in my area. And then also, at that time, we sold our cookies door to door. I don't think do you do that anymore? You do? Yeah. Good. That teaches you a lot. It's very scary, knock on a stranger's door and try and sell them something, but I'm sure you learned a lot from that. You know how to talk to people and...
Did it prepare you to walk precincts?
Walk precincts, yes. Not everyone's very nice, but most people are. But also in Girl Scouts, I learned a lot of leadership skills and how to work as a team. And recently I came across my Girl Scout handbook. I don't know if you have those anymore. It's ancient at this point in time. But I have my little notes in there that we went through on how to earn various merit badges. I have to say I was better at the hiking and camping skills than some of the how to be a good wife badges at the time. Things were different then, you know, how to sew, how to cook. No, I never did any of that. But I just, Don, it's true. That's what they were. So things have changed. And I also wanted to say, when I was a scout, you have much better uniform situation. We had to wear these horrid green skirts and blouses, and they had to be tucked in, and you had to wear a merit badge, and you had to wear it to school, and that also taught a lot of character. So you're learning a lot, whether you know it or not. It'll come in handy later when you're an adult. And also want to remind all of you, this is on television at 6 o'clock on Friday night. So if you want to see yourself on television, and your parents, maybe, Channel 14, you can watch it. So good luck to all of you.
That's cool. Do they still have brownies? My sister was a brownie. Yes. Yeah, were you a brownie, Miss Peters?
Never a brownie, always a Girl Scout.
Oh.
I was a brownie.
Oh, you? Well, didn't you have to be a brownie before you were a Girl Scout? No? Like a Cub Scout before you were a Boy Scout?
Yeah, that's what it was when I was growing up. Yeah. I don't know.
It's all Girl Scout now.
Yeah,
oh, it's all
combined.
All combined, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing your experience. So. And if you want to compare handbooks, you can call Ms. Peters and she'll tell you the changes, the revisions that have occurred over the years. But
lots.
Yeah. Really, again, I think great lessons. And I'm just curious, a couple of you raised your hands, you did the door-to-door sales. Would you mind coming forward and tell us what was the most memorable part of that? Come on forward.
Just stand between the microphones.
Yeah.
The most memorable part about it
Tell us your name first.
Samantha.
Samantha.
Hi,
Okay, Samantha.
And the most memorable part was I learned that people aren't always that nice, but like I got some project thank yous for it that I took to the military, and that's what I think. Some people just didn't want cookies, but they still helped.
Well, good.
Very good, Samantha.
You do realize that sometimes people are dieting, right?
My name is Elena, and the most memorable part in being in the Girl Scouts is that I have my wonderful troop, and I learned about a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I just like being in Girl Scouts. I love it. It's just
A great part of your life.
Girls just want to have fun.
Great, Alexis.
The most memorable part of going door to door is that when you're out there, like some people are just like, oh yeah, you're a Girl Scout. I used to be a Girl Scout, and like it makes you like, oh, she was a Girl Scout, and so like I'm a Girl Scout now, and it's like, yeah.
Something in common.
Yeah.
Now, did you keep track of those addresses so you can be sure to go back to those houses next year?
So I can like call them if they moved or
Yeah, forwarding the address, yeah. See, she's showing some of the strategies. So a little experience there. So.
Yeah,
well,
good for you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you all for being here this morning. So. And thanks to the cookie delivery person. I know you were, I think, winding your way through traffic, so you got here just in time to share the mints and the s'mores. So, okay, again, well, thank you so much, young ladies, and you're welcome back here anytime. And certainly, thanks to your adult leaders and to our development director for the Girl Scouts of Heart of Central California for all the leadership and good work. So, we really appreciate it. And have a great rest of the day, ladies. Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
Item 47, hearing to determine whether to modify definition of Sacramento area for the purposes of applying the prevailing rate provisions of County Charter Section 63.
Okay, good morning.
All right, go ahead. Good morning, Supervisor Natoli and members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Rebecca Stuckert, Human Resources Manager with the Department of Personnel Services. I just have a brief report for you this morning.
Good morning, Rebecca. This is your first presentation to the board, too?
It is for the board, yes.
Yeah, well, very good. We're getting some first-timers, so that's good. So,
all right.
Welcome. Good.
Did you come bearing baked goods by chance?
So, as I mentioned, I have a brief report for you this morning. Per county charter and ordinance, every odd-numbered year, the county is to conduct a public hearing to define the Sacramento area for purposes of applying the prevailing wage provisions of the county charter. The data collected this year suggests that there be no change made to the definition of the Sacramento area. This has been consistent since the ordinance went into effect in 1979. We haven't had any changes since that time. The findings must be considered at a public hearing to be scheduled no earlier than March 1st and no later than March 31st. Notice of the hearing has been published twice in the Sacramento Bee this month, and we have notice to recognize employee organizations regarding this hearing. So therefore, we respectfully request that you open the hearing, take any testimony, and approve the resolution. This concludes my report, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Any questions of the written report? All right, seeing none, then we'll declare the public hearing open. And I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Anyone wish to address this item as it relates to definition of the Sacramento area for the purposes of applying the prevailing rate provisions of the county charter? All right, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing. And with that, entertain a motion unless there's any other questions or comments. So, Chair would move it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and second then to approve the resolution outlining the definition of Sacramento area. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
There you go.
Thank you.
Pretty painless. Thanks again, Rebecca. Appreciate it. Okay, next item, please.
Okay, for item 48, it's the 2030 Sacramento County General Plan Annual Reports for calendar year 2016.
Good morning. Not your first time presenting to the board.
Not my first time. Leanne Moffett, your
Leanne,
county
she's
planning
a workout.
director, and as was Supervisor Frost, a former Brownie. Sorry, I don't have any cookies, though, so this presentation will not be as exciting as the Girl Scout one. Sorry. This is the, I do have a PowerPoint, though, just to go through this really quickly. This is the annual report on progress that the county has made overall on implementation of the county general plan, including the housing element. We do send an annual report to the State Office of Planning and Research, highlighting accomplishments, and we also send a report to the State Housing and Community Development, specifically on the housing element, and that report is due by April 1st, and it allows us to qualify for a variety of grant funding. It's also an opportunity for the public to comment on implementation. There have been a wide variety of accomplishments that have been made. This just highlights a few, probably focusing more on the land use side of things, although a variety of county departments and agencies do implement the general plan. We've had a number of general plan amendments, zoning code changes, and the floodplain management amendments to address state legislation around flood issues. We've adopted the Matherfield SPA. We adopted special planning area amendments for Locke in 2016, and also prepared an applicant handbook guide to the Delta, given the complexities of land use in the Delta. We've done a number of zoning code fix-its. We adopted the Greenback Lane Orangevale Envisions Plan. The board has been working on a variety of property and business improvement districts, PBIDs. One was adopted for Carmichael. We participate in the CEO's office 5-year capital improvement plan review and reviewed that for general plan consistency, and also did the general plan annual review. This slide just highlights a couple of general plan amendments that were done. We have a variety of ongoing efforts and projects that will come forward to the board hopefully in 2017. Just a general plan cleanup amendment package. We have the West of Galt project coming forward to you before. Some updates to the safety element. We have the South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan, which has been delivered for publication in the Federal Register. We're working on the Folsom Boulevard Transit Area Plan, the Phase 2 Climate Action Plan, and we have a number of private application amendments to the general plan. We're also continuing our work on a variety of master planning and making good progress on some of those. We may even see at least one of those coming forward to the board at the very tail end of this year. So those are on this slide here. We also continue to work on a variety of the master plan efforts that have been approved in the past, including Alberta, a number of projects in the Vineyard area, and Rancho Murrieta. So we have had a lot of maps approved, particularly in the Vineyard area, and a lot of map extensions, and we have a number of maps in Alberta coming forward in a large project in Rancho Murrieta. This just lists a number of the entitlement applications. There's a full list in your report. Interesting, just a little anecdote. Number one is shopping cart plans. That is in recognition of an effort that we made in some rules that were adopted by the board to try to contain shopping carts. And so a lot of the shopping centers have been complying and coming forward with their plans to corral that, along with a whole variety of other things. Not specifically a slide on this, but I did want to point out with regard to the housing element, we did have 46 dwelling units produced this year in the very low income category. That's the deeper income targeting, which actually represented 7% of this total year's units, which was pretty good. As you look in the housing element charts, the production of single-family homes is slowly increasing, definitely up from past years, still down somewhat historically. But in the entire reporting year, it would actually average 11.3% of our total units in the low and very low income category. So that's actually a pretty good percentage number there. So just in conclusion, we have a number of projects completed or underway. We and the board have made sure that the land use decisions that are being made are consistent with the general plan. So we're asking that you receive and file the annual report and direct us to submit the annual reports to the state. And we will continue to implement the general plan.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. Let me ask questions of Leanne on the report update. I did have one question for you. Did you have a question? Oh. Just on I was surprised that the low number of development plan review, where we went through quite a extensive discussion about residential, obviously, and I think did some significant alteration to reviews for business commercial properties, and you only had 6 last.
I think because we actually classify development plan review different from design review. Oh, okay. So it's not capturing, that number's not capturing all the design review. We do a ton of design review.
Well, right, okay,
items.
so there's a, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think it's how we classified the entitlement type.
Okay, well that explains it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's the language and how it's applied, but okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
That's just one subcategory of overall design review.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
Okay. If nothing else, I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this item, Leanne. So with that, this is a receive and file and some direction as it relates to the annual report and to our reports have to go to the Department of Housing and Community Development relative to housing inventory and production and so forth. So that's embodied in the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Okay, it's moved. Have a second? Chair would second it. Move and second then to approve the staff recommendation, and nothing further, please vote. Great.
Unanimous vote.
Thanks, Leanne. Okay, moving right along.
Okay, for item 49, you are introducing an ordinance amending various sections of the Sacramento County Code and authorizing the Department of Personnel Services to process a salary resolution amendment, waiving full reading and continuing to April 11th for adoption.
Mr. Gill, it's not your first time presenting to the board either. So.
I don't believe so. Good morning.
First time this morning.
Not this morning.
Yeah.
First time this morning.
Yeah.
I'm in front of you today to present to you a restructuring that we've been working on for a couple of months. And basically, as outlined in the staff report, the changes are, our recommendation is to change the titles of the chief deputy county execs to deputy county executives, create a new agency to be headed up by a new deputy county exec, which is a public works and infrastructure. This agency will house transportation, waste management, recycling, water resources, and also a newly created Office of Development and Code Services. Currently, the Community Development Department houses functions of county engineering, code enforcement, and building inspection. We are recommending doing away with that department and moving those functions into the new Development and Code Services under Public Works and Infrastructure. Also, in that new office, we're recommending moving construction management and inspection, which is currently housed in General Services, moving it under the Public Works and Infrastructure Agency to have better coordination process there. Also, municipal services will continue to house animal care and regional parks. We're adding agricultural commissioner office in there. And a couple of other things that we do that does not really end up showing up in an org chart is we have a lot of coordination efforts we do with our sister agencies, be it the Library JPA, be it with SHRA or Sanitation District. This recommendation formalizes that by saying liaison will be our municipal services administrator. Internal services, our recommendation is to rename that to administrative services because that's the type of functions that are housed in there, and to add Department of Voter Registration and Election to that agency. Countywide services, which is one of our biggest agencies, we would like to rename that to social services, and also formalizing First Five. In our existing chart, you do not see First Five coming in, but there's a strong link between us and First Five, and Mr. Lake coordinates that for us. A couple of other changes have the clerk of the board report directly to the county executive. Since it's a very intense agenda management and working with the board, I would like to recommend that that function reports into the county exec for me to work closely with our clerk. The other item that has created some confusion for us is kind of an unforeseen effect, is that we have a chief financial officer and we have a finance director. And most folks tend to assume that one supervises the other one. Those are two separate functions. Finance has treasury, accounts payable, accounting, and billing, while the chief financial officer, as we have right now, has budget and debt management. This proposal does change the title back to chief fiscal officer, because that's more on the budget side, and also renaming that office to what really it is, which is the Office of Budget and Debt Management. We want to clarify that. The other clarification we have on the organizational chart, there's some other offices that are part of the county exec's office that are not very visible where they reside in our organizational structure, and we're just formalizing that on an organizational chart, which is emergency services, labor, and legislative and communication. So those are our proposed changes, and I'm available for any questions.
Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Nat, for the presentation. I know you've put a lot of thought into this, and I'm prepared to support the restructure. that you proposed. I have one question about the first 5 connection that you mentioned. We have both child support services led by Terry Porter, who serves on our first 5 commission, as well as Mr. Lake, who she would report to in his capacity as Deputy County Executive for Social Services. I assume that by having this kind of different acknowledged working relationship between First 5, the county, relative to those 2 specific offices, that there's not going to be the introduction of any kind of new unexpected conflict. I know that as a matter of regular practice, we are very careful at the First 5 Commission to make sure folks recuse themselves when necessary and appropriate. But I just want to make sure that at least County Council has been consulted about this so that we don't have any unexpected conflicts.
That is correct. What you're seeing here is formalizing what's been the practice for the last 10, 15 years. It just didn't show up on the org chart.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Serna. Supervisor Peters?
Thank you. Thank you, Nav. I just realized I'm missing page 3 in the staff report for some reason, and that affects the community development, that whole section of the first bullet on the restructuring. And I'm prepared to go ahead with this, although I would like to see page 3. I just want to get you on the record about your support for community development in general and issues that affect the unincorporated area. And since I don't have page 3, the construction management department is, I see, moving into the new office. So if you would briefly describe how the duties of the community service, the previous Lori Moss position, how that's getting spread out in this new arrangement.
So a couple ways that's happening. Planning, environmental review, and economic development are both direct reports into the county exec. So I'll be working closely with both Leanne and Troy and our executive team. So we're going to have a more focus on that, but separate offices. They're not together. They're two distinct offices. Then building inspection, code, and county engineering, which was another one that that previous position had. Those functions will be transferred into the Public Works and Infrastructure Agency, and that deputy will be in charge of that. And other items that went on the focus on the unincorporated, I am taking the lead on it for the next couple of years to make sure that I understand what the issues are. It's a continuation of what I started with the board last year, which is getting some district tours and really get a feel for what are the items that you're facing in the unincorporated. So my commitment is, as I get those items in, work with our executive team, get the right focus on it to make an improvement to the to those areas. And if it is meeting with business owners or shopping center owners, I'm absolutely available to work through those issues.
Okay, so in this period of time you're describing, the next 4 or 5 years, you solve all the problems, then what happens?
Well, I solve them.
You get a handle on it.
You get a handle on them. I working with our executive team, we get it to the right place. There's a concerted effort to make sure that we are not just dealing with the item once. I'm not trying to criticize, but if there's a concerted effort to make an improvement in it, and if it's not working, to report back to you on what are the issues we're seeing and what kind of resources do we need to make changes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I had a couple of questions. One, kind of along the same lines, I do want to comment. I think that it's entirely appropriate that, and just a brief conversation with a colleague this morning, that economic development and planning community development, again, there may be some areas of common interest, but that previous blending, I think, led to some other problems that show themselves, particularly in the arena of land use considerations before this board. And I think this is a wise move. And again, certainly having them direct reports to the county executive's office and coordinating those activities, as in response to Ms. Peters' question. But I do think that this is a wise move, and I think it again maintains firewalls are very important from the standpoint of land use considerations coming for this county and economic development activities that may be either in-house and or related to working with our private sector partners. And so I want to just... Hello? Another question I had, though, around that is that rather than having a department of community development, environmental review, you've got an office. I want to know the distinction there because, you know, that's a fairly sizable, and we're rebuilding again in a number of ways, both with staffing, but I think in the work that goes on there. And so why would we call that an office versus a department?
At this point, the position is a civil service position. That's the biggest distinction. It's not exempt, which is a department head position. And that could be something we could look down the road, is that do we make a full-fledged exempt position?
But didn't we call it department? I mean, there's Department of Planning, it was Department of Planning, and there was Department of Environmental Review. Was it never a department? It was always an office?
It was a department, and when the merger happened in 2011, it was still a department. In 2012, when that restructuring happened, planning ceased to be a standalone department. It became a division within community development.
Okay, so why? So again, if we're, I think, restoring some of that stature, that's important. I think to just as Leanne ran through in the general plan, you know, a number of items come before here. So this isn't about salary or even titles as much as it is, I think. Office sounds like you got a desk over, you know, in some you know, section of the building versus a department, and we have departments that are, you know, smaller in even numbers than that one. So I guess I'm trying to get some sense about.
It was basically we were trying to just get the restructuring done without adding exempt positions. But if that's the desire of the board, we can always go back and create and bring it back to you as an exempt department head position.
Okay.
There wasn't a thought that it was going to diminish the role. It was
no, I know that. No, yeah, you actually.
How can we fit it into our structure? Okay. And it can be a department reporting to the county exec. It's just a matter of us going through the process and putting it in place.
Well, again, without parsing it too finely, I just think that you know, again, I think this, you know, that you know, people department will go get, you know, contact the office versus the department. So maybe it's more nomenclature than it is anything else. But
if I could just offer, what I can do is, as this is, if the board agrees with this, what I can come back to you next couple of months is making that into a department. What would that look like?
Or give us the, you know, the why fors or why nots. I guess that's why it's more a question here this morning than anything else. And thank you for that. I did want to ask on another one under the municipal services. We carry the title of animal care and regulation, and I think we ought to consider animal care services. We have a number of other ones that, for example, general services, personnel services, and I don't know that regulation. If you look at any other titles, I don't see that. You know, a number of those departments do licensing, they do obviously hearings and so forth, but it doesn't say regulation. And I think, again, the portrayal we're trying to do in animal services, particularly with our shelter efforts, but also within the community framework, there's an aspect of regulation. But again, I would like for your consideration, certainly my colleagues, that we may look at animal care services or some other title that I think reflects an approach that has evolved over time as it relates to both our service to the public, but to the animals that are in our care and custody. And I would like us to take a look at that.
Okay.
And with, you know, and if there's some costs associated with everybody having changed, you know, I mean, I want to know that. So maybe something over time, but at least from a title standpoint, I think we need to reflect that. So.
I'll report on that.
Okay, good. All right. I didn't have my sign up to speak. Anyone wish to address item 49? No, it's a good body of work. Certainly, Nav, thank you for your work and that of your team bringing this to us this morning. So this would be introducing the ordinance this morning for the first reading, and would then return to us on April 11th for further consideration and adoption by the board. So,
move the item.
Okay.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded then to introduce the ordinance, approve the salary resolution amendment, and authorize direct personnel services to process the administrative salary resolution. If there's nothing further, no other comments, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're almost back on time.
For item 50, it's the Department of Regional Parks recommendation for operation of Gibson Ranch Regional Park.
Okay, before we get on this item 2, I just want to note that we have a speaker to sign up for item 52 on the agenda. We will not be hearing that item until this afternoon, so for those that may be here for those items, they are afternoon session items, and so you're welcome to stay with us throughout the morning and keep your seat, but I just wanted to let you know that it would be a little bit of a wait, so, okay. All right, with that. Hi, Jeff.
Thank you, members of the board. Jeff Leatherman, Director of Regional Parks for Sacramento County. I have a couple of just opening comments and remarks as it relates to your board agenda item. Be happy to answer any questions as we move through the item. And as I begin, I think it's important just to recognize that Gibson Ranch has been open since 2011 under a lease agreement. It's been available to the community for special events, recreation purposes, for horse boarding and equestrian uses as it's connected to our Dry Creek Parkway. And that's no small task. We had we had the unfortunate experience of closing that park in 2009, 2010, and in working with Gibson Ranch and GRP 2011, and the primary management representative, Mr. Osi, getting that park back open and operating for the community. What we've experienced now over the last 5-6 operating years is that under the current lease agreement, Mr. Osi has experienced financial losses at the park, approximately $230,000 over the course of the five and a half years of operation. And that's come to the conclusion by Mr. Osi that the current lease agreement is no longer sustainable, and we need to look at some other options for operating the park to continue to keep it open for the community. We've outlined kind of the first step in our evaluation of that operation in your staff report today, and are looking for board direction on what our next steps are in reviewing and moving forward for the operation. It does include the potential for closing the park as one of the options that the board could take. It also includes options for solicitation for another request for proposal, or for the county to resume operations under a little bit different of a modified model to what we were doing before in 2008, 2009, and before that. I just want to outline a couple of the scenarios that are also included, but before I do that, I also want to not only assure the board but the community that in working with Mr. Osi over the course of the last 5 years and over the course of the last couple of months, that he has also assured me and committed to me that we will continue to work together in this transitionary period, whatever it may be, to continue services to the community, to continue to have the park open. It may take a little bit different look, it may be a little bit different shape, but he is committed to not only me but also the community that he will be a good partner with us and continue that partnership that we've had. And I'll let Doug speak to any more of that he may want to. A couple of the scenarios that have been outlined in your staff report provided by Mr. Osi, scenario 1, I'll just classify more as a typical concession type agreement that the board could consider. That guarantees a certain revenue cap, guarantees a certain type of payment. Traditionally, you see these types of agreements more in Yosemite National Park or park facilities that have significant amount of revenue to offset costs. What we've experienced in the last couple of years at Gibson Ranch is we don't have that revenue, so that model may not be as sustainable in the Gibson Ranch model. The second scenario that's been outlined, has been discussed with Mr. Osi, is more of a fee for management type agreement where we would pay for a certain level of service and working with the operator be coordinating our efforts, but also contracting for certain types of services. This has also been outlined in a way that we would see an increase to the park entry fee and also an elimination of the annual passes. So it kind of takes some of the operating model away from the regional park system and isolates it as a standalone entity. The third that we've outlined in this model is for the county to be resuming operations at Gibson Ranch. And that's not to say that we would be mirroring exactly what we did when the county was operating Gibson Ranch prior to the contract model that we're in now. This is more of a model where we would be looking at contracting services such as cutting grass and edging grass out to the private sector. We would be looking at connecting with local service providers for the equestrian services that are there. and the park, as well as some specialized special event services. So it's not a recreation of the old model that we had used at Gibson Ranch, but it is more of a county-operated model with some limited staff on the county side, as well as some contracting for services out into the community where we can find the best service for the cheapest price under that model. Those are the three kind of scenarios, as well as closure of the park, that have been outlined in the staff report. A couple of other comments, just in some questions that we had that I just want to run through really quick.
Jeff, I just could, as
Sure.
you're running through that, I mean, you've gone through the scenarios, but, and I know, again, Supervisor, we're going to want to speak to this, but this idea about the closure of the park, that's not even, I mean, you can put that out there as your comparison chart, but we're not, that's not before this board today. You're not proposing that. We're not even, it's not being suggested by members of this board. Obviously, community support, we reopened it on a particular scenario. We're talking about that. But I just, again, I guess I would want to ask, why was that included as a part of the analysis when,
Sure.
That was a decision that was very difficult for this board in 2009 and 10, and along with the whole closures of other county facilities, but that's not even on the docket. So why did that appear? I guess that's my question to you.
It's a fair question, and I appreciate that, highlighting that fact, because from the staff's perspective, I also agree that it is not an option to close the park that we would be recommending today to the board. And the comparison model that we put together was the recognition that there are costs associated with even closing the park.
Costs. Okay.
And I think that was important to realize that we don't get to a net county cost of zero by closing facilities. There still is a cost associated with the closure. And in this case, we're estimating that to be right around $250,000 on an annualized basis. And so when you start to look at the profit loss scenario or a management scenario or even RFP scenario, we're in that kind of $300,000 to $400,000 operating ratio, potentially as low as $160,000. And so mothballing, even from a financial perspective, doesn't make sense.
Okay, so I guess if I take it from your response and what was included in the report, then it was to frame the answer to the question about, what could happen under, different management scenarios, but that going back several years, but to bringing that current as well, is that there are costs associated with holding that asset and providing some level of security and oversight to it that are basically fixed costs.
That's correct.
They may have certain elements that can be adjusted, but there are certain fixed costs just to holding that as an asset in the county's portfolio of parks or lands or buildings. And so, again, I think that because to the first time, reviewer of that would take a look at it, well, then, since you might take away that, that's a serious option that's being considered by staff or by this board, when in fact it is not. Again, county facilities certainly can be looked at as to what their status is, but we're out of the financial times, which brought that particular decision point to this board, and we have to look at what we're going to do as far as operations. But I just want to be clear about that, because there may be folks in the audience or others that are watching that somehow the takeaway is that the board is considering closure at Gibson Ranch, and that's really not the case. But there are costs if the board did that when we did it in the past and then had to transition, and would be ongoing. So
that's correct.
Okay,
thanks for that clarification.
That's right.
And just a couple of notes as it relates to different operating models that we use. There are a number of different contracting and operating models that the department experiences throughout our regional park system. We have great partnerships with our historical societies and our historical ranches. We have partnerships with ARNA at FEI Nature Center, with Soil-Borne Farms, with the American Parkway Foundation. And so over the course of the last even 10 years, the department has really been looking for the ways to best manage our facilities in the most effective, both policy-wise, master plan-wise, and then also financially as we possibly can, and continue to look forward to doing that here at Gibson Ranch. So with that, I'll leave the board any other questions that you may have as it relates to the scenarios that we've outlined, and go from there.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff, for your report. Supervisor Frost.
Well, I want to open by just thanking Congressman Ossie for, I guess this is before my time, but during a time when the park was closed, he worked with the county to figure out how to open it back up and continue a wonderful amenity for the community. And I also want to mention that my district, when I first was elected, we came out with a survey and asked people what is important to them. And throughout this whole process with Gibson Ranch, we've received an overwhelming feedback with hundreds of emails saying that the community really loves Gibson Ranch. They love the services there, the equestrian facility, and they do not want it to close, not even for one day, and they would like the services to continue the way they have been. So I just wanted to put that out and share that with everyone. I did have a couple of questions relating to the report. I'm aware of, the average cost to operate Gibson Ranch from the standpoint of, what's happened over the past 5 years. But in the first scenario, it's talking about the 906,000 possible offset by revenues. Right. So my first question relates to exactly what is the difference between scenario 1 or the GRP number 1 and 2, and what are the average revenues? Because I know in the winter months you don't make as much as you make in the summer months. So what is the average monthly revenues? What annual revenues could be expected if Mr. Ossie, a private operation, was there? I guess the question is, can the county continue with, overseeing events and weddings and managing the equestrian facility the way Mr. Ossie has been doing it, and how do those two scenarios compare? So I'll start with that. I have a couple of other questions.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one first. So in the first operating scenario, as I described it, it's more traditional of a concession type agreement where you have negotiated caps as well as negotiated payments back to the county. As soon as you start to restrict the contract obligations of a future operator, it starts to drive the risk, and the risk tends to increase a management fee. And so that's where we look at scenario 1 as being potentially more expensive, because we're tightening the restrictions around the type of agreement that it is. Typically you would see that type of an agreement. The best is, it's our iconic Yosemite National Park, where they have something to sell, they have revenue, and you can start to restrict the expectations on an operator as well as force them into specific payment obligations back to the landowner. In this case, we really don't have that flexibility with Gibson Ranch, because unfortunately it does not generate that kind of revenue. And so the more we restrict the obligations, the higher the fee payment from the county to that operator tends to be. Additionally, as we look at the revenue offset, to answer your question, annually we're in about $620,000 to $650,000 on average that is coming into the park facility. A lot of that is driven by weather as well as special events. So what we're experiencing now, I can use just our own experience. Discovery Park has been underwater for the last 3-4 months, or 2 months I guess, and we project another 2 months. It just went back underwater yesterday and the day before, and so that, from our experience, is driving our revenue down because we're not able to keep the park open. That can happen across all the scenarios, and so it's not isolated just to one.
So the other parks in the park system, do they generally lose money annually, or do they generally make money?
So the department receives a general fund allocation. In this current fiscal year, it's about $6.3 million for our department. So in general, the Parks Department is subsidized by the county general fund. You can find isolated circumstances. Mostly are areas where we have small park facilities with a launch ramp, Hogback Island in the Delta, Elkhorn also on the Sacramento River, where you actually generate more revenue than it costs because you're maintaining asphalt and concrete. So there's not a lot of work that has to happen there. But that sets aside the administrative costs as well as the capital improvements to those facilities. So on a year-to-year comparison, they're generating revenue, but when you start to look at the overall cost of those facilities, land acquisition, capital improvements, long-term deferred maintenance, they do not make money.
And my understanding is that Mr. Ossie doesn't wish to continue to bear the losses of our parks, which I can understand. What is the difference then? Is it possible to manage the park with, like we manage the golf courses, with a management agreement? In the report, it's talking about the golf course management agreements.
Yes, it is. And so as you look at our golf course management agreement, those are traditional kind of fee management type agreements where the county really manages the overall policy direction of those courses. We approve the fee schedule, and our day-to-day operations managers, we have 2 of them, they manage the day-to-day operations. Ansel Hoffman, I'll use as an example, is a little bit different. We actually cut the grass at Ansel Hoffman because we have a larger park facility that surrounds the golf course. And so our fee for management operation is just the course actual operation, as well as the pro shop and restaurant. So we've done a couple of different things within those fee management structures. What you'll find is a little bit different in a fee management operation is they tend to be shorter periods of time. Our golf course operations are roughly about a 5-year contract versus more of a 20 or a 30-year contract that you would see in a traditional concession operations.
So if we went to a golf course type management, fee management contract, it would be a shorter contract.
It doesn't have to be, but they traditionally are. That allows the county to hold the operators accountable to perform, because we're essentially buying a service and we want them to perform to that service standard.
So in the report, it's talking about $154,000 through the end of the year, and I'm assuming that's to the end of the fiscal year. So we're estimating $75,000 a month cost to run Gibson Ranch if the county takes it over, or is that including setup fees? Or because I don't think it's costing that much now under the private scenario.
That's correct.
I think it's significantly less.
It is. You're absolutely right. The majority of that is some capital acquisition that we would need to make, some additional vehicles and some light equipment that we would have to purchase in order to take over the operation of Gibson Ranch in the first fiscal cycle, well, in this remainder of the fiscal cycle in order to manage the facility.
And if the county did take over Gibson Ranch, would the county then manage all those weddings and the equestrian? How would we? How do you propose that? Would the same activity? Would it be the same as what it is now? Because that's what's important to my constituents.
Yeah, and it's important to the department as well. And so our intent would be look for outside service providers to start to help with those types of activities. So we wouldn't be hiring staff for the wedding services. We would look to contract that service into the facility to be able to provide that service for the county and for the community. Same with the equestrian facilities and some of our light maintenance. We would be looking from the county perspective at just the heavier maintenance stuff, irrigation work, fixed assets in the buildings and structures, but the lighter maintenance we would contract out. The special events as far as weddings, anniversaries, those types of things, we would be looking to the private industry to help us with, as well as the equestrian services to look for a contract service for those.
So in theory, it's going to require more employees on the county side, and you're dealing with more people rather than having one person manage it and basically operate, take on the whole operation.
That's correct. So we would be hiring.
So it's more of a burden on the county, really.
There is a staffing burden on the county to manage those staff people, yes. And we would have that obligation to manage what would be probably 3 full-time staff people and some part-time staff, as well as the administrative function would be housed out of the regional park office. But that would be an additional responsibility of my department.
And then I just have one more question regarding how do you manage the insurance requirements for all these different entities? You know, some of them are management contract. Are they all responsible for their insurance, and is it just based on their activities and whatever they can get, or does the county have an umbrella policy that covers all the parks?
Sure. Ultimately, as the landowner, the county's in the business of insuring those properties. But what we do in the case of having operators out working in various facilities is we work with our risk management office to insure and indemnify the county where it's appropriate, when it's appropriate. And so we do require our partners to carry insurance policies to essentially bridge the gap, the liability gap of those operations between the county and potential risks that are there in the field, whether it be our historical ranches or our park facilities or golf courses.
And then lastly, sorry everyone, the entry fee, there was some discussion regarding an entry fee,
right?
The raising the cost to access the park. What is the county's policy on that? Do you have a policy?
So the county's policy in raising fees is that it's the board's discretion. So we have an item right now under the current management agreement. Mr. Ossie is responsible for bringing an annual report forward to the board. And we have that report has gone through the Recreation and Park Commission, and there is a recommendation for the board to consider a fee increase under the current structure of the lease agreement in order to help offset costs associated with the park facility. We've held that report pending direction from the board today on where we move forward from here. As it relates to the department, we're not looking at fee increases for the remainder of our facilities, and would want to see not only the fees to be consistent, but also our annual passes to be honored at all of our regional park facilities.
Okay. So I'll just, for now, close by saying I guess I was surprised to see it costs almost as much to mothball a park and to maintain it than it does to keep it open. So for me, the option of closing it is not even an option. And I somehow feel that business as usual is a positive thing, and that Mr. Ossie's done a good job. So if there's a way to work it out so that he can continue and it can be cost effective for the county, I think in the long run, having a private sector business person managing the park under a management contract would be ultimately probably save the county money and resources. That's just my opinion, coming from the private sector as a business owner. And there's a big spread between the 160, on his item number 2, 160 to 350 is the anticipated cost, and then for the county's alternative, it's 315,000, and I'm assuming from there that goes up, because once you have employees, they get regular raises, and you have you have more cost associated on the public side than you really do on the private side. So it looks to me like it might be worth our while to take some time to see if we can negotiate something. Now, I know that County Council has recommended that if we do make any of these changes to the contract are significant enough that we would have to go out for an RFP, but I guess I'd like to go on record as saying keeping it private is good. Mr. Ossie's done a good job over the last 6 years, and if he, it seems like he wants to continue, is willing to continue doing it. If he wants to, then that would be great. Those are just some of my thoughts at this time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Supervisor Peters?
Yeah, thanks. I'm sure we'll hear from Mr. Ossie at some point in time here, but I have a couple questions.
I'm here to answer questions for you, and then we can invite Mr. Ossie to come up.
Well, I think I've learned over the time that Gibson Ranch is a unique beast in our park system, and they do things at that park that we don't do in our other parks, and it has also a unique interest for the people who live around the park. So I had a couple of questions on the GRP scenarios. The lease extension is suggested to 2041, and I wonder if you know what that seems like. An awfully long time.
Yeah, it is. It is an awfully long time. Mr. Ossie can speak to the direct philosophy behind that from a parks perspective. As I look at management type agreements, as I said earlier, that 5-year, 7-year horizon, in my mind, would be more appropriate to recommend to the board.
Is that what our golf?
That's correct. Our golfs are 5-year agreements.
Okay.
Yes.
So then another question on the GRP scenarios. They talk about a daily vehicle fee and the potential of regional parks passes no longer being allowed, which I have a problem with that, because that's one of the big sales points, I think, in the passes, even federal passes. You get to go to all the parks. So can it be one or the other? Right now, we charge a daily vehicle fee. It looks like $5.
That's correct.
Suggestion that it go up to $8. So why wouldn't that be a sufficient amount to move the request to disallow regional parks pass? Do you know the background behind that?
My assumption, I don't know the complete background, is just the number of passes that potentially come into the park and how that impacts revenue. And if you were to eliminate the use of our regional park pass, you would be able to collect revenue directly to Gibson
Okay,
Ranch.
I can figure that out, but it seems like it's, maybe Mr. Ossie can explain more of that. In the alternative 1 county operation, you say 3 new full-time positions. Are those rangers?
They are not. It would be 1 recreation position to help coordinate the overall recreation programs there in the park facility, and 2 full-time maintenance positions. We would also have some part-time positions associated with the park in the on-season in order to manage the weekends and deal with cleaning of restrooms.
Okay. One of the things I remember from the time when we had to close, the county had to get out of management of this park, one of the most difficult aspects was the equestrian boarding operation. We had people in our board chambers pretty regularly from Rio Linda and surrounds complaining about, this is prior to, sure, and then during the revision of standards for the equestrian boarding operation, and I am not sure that we want to go back to a time when the county handles that, because we didn't handle it very well before. So I got some trouble with that part of that alternative. Then I wanted to know, this is going to come back to us at some point, I assume. 1, if we went with a competitive selection process, that doesn't mean we would have to do we know if Mr. Ossie would be one of those competitives? He would have part of the process? He
would have the opportunity to submit a bid as part of that process, and Mr. Ossie can comment on whether or not he would participate.
I guess I should have asked this question first, and it really involves county council. I'd like to know the reasons, just saying a substantial change to terms and conditions, that we should go out for a solicitation process. I'd like to know more about that, because I'm not sure I can think of those by myself, so maybe you can tell me.
Well, and I would suggest it's prospective, depending on, and Mr. Leatherman and I haven't teased out what those material changes might be, but the board's authority rests in its authority to lease. And if the concession changes are substantial in that it's not a lease, but it's more a running of an operation, my office could foresee that that would be material enough to suggest that it could be required to go out for an RFP. If instead the board direction is some lesser negotiation, that might not be necessary. So if you are providing a concession for less than the whole, and it has more a direction of the financial obligation, and the risk is changed or flopped, that I can see changing the nature of that lease materially.
Well, there was still quite a bit of risk in the agreement that is out there now. I mean, he's lost a couple $100,000 in the last 5 years. I'd call that risk. So is a basic difference leasing of the whole facility? Is that what you're saying?
Whole versus a subpart, and exactly what that consists of.
Okay. Then another question I have is, under the GRP scenarios, it suggests that the county decrease its insurance requirements to the partnership. And I'm curious as to what the difference in cost is. I'm sure it's expensive insurance to have all those people playing in the park, doing one thing or the other. Jeff, can you speak to that? Do you know? Or Mr. Vaughn, do you know what the difference, what the current operator pays now and what would happen if the county assumed those obligations?
So
would that be the difference? I'm trying to get to, is that the difference between profit and loss here?
I don't know that it's the difference between profit and loss, and kind of the shift right now is a lease agreement, in my understanding, has more protection for the county in that the leaseholder carries a greater burden as it relates to risk. When we switch to a management agreement, some of that risk could potentially transfer to the county.
So it just gets folded into the county's overall liability insurance?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I'd like to know more about that before we vote on this.
Robin, anything you wanted to add? I think the question kind of went to you and to Jeff both. Any comments about risk, liability?
My answer would be very similar. I don't know the cost differences.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next, Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of you will remember this is where I cut my teeth 6 years ago. My first vote on this board was on a related subject as it relates to privatizing the management oversight of Gibson Ranch. So if you see a little twitch, that's what it's about. My question for you, Jeff, is if the will of the board were to initiate a competitive selection process for an operator, what's the timing? In terms of making sure that there's no lapse in management of the park. Because I agree with Supervisor Frost. For me, the one alternative that's not on the table is to close the park. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's really a question of how best do we keep it open and make sure that our constituents don't have any interruption of access to it for all the things that they need and want to do. This park used to be in the district I represented, so I have some familiarity with how much the park is appreciated by the immediate community, but of course it's a regional asset. So I'd like to understand if we go down the path of that particular alternative, how do we make sure that there's no interruption?
So if we were to head down that alternative, I would anticipate 4 to 6 months, depending on the complexity of the agreement and the time frame that we needed to leave it out in the open market in order to get those responses back. I use our golf agreements as a good baseline, and they generally take that 4 to 6 month window to turn something around and get a recommendation back to the board. In the meantime, we would be looking at what delegated authority we have or potentially need to have in order to maintain services now in some sort of holdover type of agreement, likely with Mr. Ossie, and then looking at what county resources we potentially need in the short term to bridge any of that gap.
Perhaps Mr. Ossie is going to speak to this, but have you received any indication that that's an option for him that would work in terms of this carryover?
Yeah, I believe that it is, and he can speak to that directly.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Jim, I had a couple of questions. One being back to the annual passes, and again, I trust somebody's kept some documentation since that's a part of the discussion that's occurred between Mr. Ossie and county staff as part of this triggered point in time where people can give notice and so forth. So what's been the conversation? Is that 10% of the annual folks that pass through there? Is it 20%? What's the attributed shared and not lost, because obviously depending on the county parks, this is a county park, and right. I think it's very important. I would concur with Ms. Peters and others that having equal access is very important, unique or not. We have unique properties throughout this county as it relates to the topography and to the uses and to the enjoyment of outdoor activities, both planned as well as just park settings. And so I guess I'm curious, what's the number that's been assigned to that?
So the department in our current, or the county in our current lease agreement requires that the annual pass be honored at Gibson Ranch. Right. There is no cost sharing associated with that pass. So any entrances that come in, 100% of the proceeds, we have an annual pass agreement also with the Parkway Foundation, so there's a portion that goes to them as our contractor, but those come directly to the department. So Gibson Ranch specifically does not receive an allocation from those annual pass uses. I'll look over my shoulder at my Fanny's finance department and see, do you know the numbers off the top of your head of entrances, or Doug, do you know? Okay, Doug knows off what the actual entrances are into the park facility for the passes.
Again, I don't know this anything is proprietary, so I guess that would have been helpful to have as part of the report, because it kind of frames some of this discussion. And I know this is a general outline, and I think some of the other questions have been asked about insurance, about extensions and so forth, and again, those of us that went through certainly the recession and the decisions that this board and community obviously was faced with through our actions were tough ones, and yet recognizing that county parks, along with all county departments, faced serious reductions in budgets, and part of that action was obviously Gibson Ranch and its status at the time. I would just say that over the last several years, that I think that the having the park open, some of the improvements in opportunities, both capital that went in from the county side of it, but also Mr. Rosie's in his team, their management and so forth has been, I think, helped to build not only the use but the appreciation for Gibson Ranch. And I think as we see, growth in development, not just in Sacramento County, but certainly to areas to the north and east, people will continue to look for venues that offer the opportunities that Gibson Ranch offers for family types of events, but also for other things that were permitted. And again, under the operational agreement, there are certain restrictions, and I know that Mr. Osi and certainly county staff have had conversations about certain activities and so forth that either were allowed, need to be interpreted, and/or were prohibited under that arrangement. But I think part of the consideration here needs to be kind of, at least for baseline for me, is to have this level playing field as it relates to the park access, to the fees that are charged for entry, and to the activities that go on there. And again, I'm not convinced, at least as we sit here today, that reverting necessarily is the, if you're looking at it from the cost standpoint, I think county staff can certainly maintain our facilities and have proven that. And I appreciate your leadership, Jeff, and your term of service here with the county. And I think, some of the investments gone back into both staffing, but also to recognition that, for your annual general fund budget of $6.4 million, it's not a lot of money in comparison to what, to the thousands of acres that are in the county inventory, the public exposure, and the use. And I would hope that in years to come we're able to supplement that. But I think part of the underlying base, both of access, but also is that there are some things that people's contribution to the general fund, however those revenues come in, whether it's property tax or otherwise, or sales tax or whatever discretionary income comes in, that they're providing access to good wholesome activities and to settings that allow people to enjoy the out of doors, in addition to to other county programs and other programs that are offered through agreements with parties, whether it's GRP or others. I think that's an important aspect, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. I think there was over the past couple of decades, kind of a migration to, not only fee for service, but that somehow the general fund couldn't be used for certain things. Like this board has explored that, both with our road maintenance. I think the consideration later on today about programming in the social services arena. And I think when it comes to parks, clearly we don't have an unlimited amount of money in the general fund to do these, but that these are you hope to break even, but the chances that you're going to make money and or break even are dependent upon a lot of factors, including weather, which you pointed out. And so I think that we need to recognize that whatever arrangement we use, whether it's working with a party that leases and operates, or somebody that manages and operates, or us doing it, all of it or part of it, and part and parceling out, that these are public facilities. We want to maintain access. We want to cover some of those costs, but there's going to be a general fund contribution, and that's not going away. Even in the worst of times, that didn't go away. And I just think that sometimes we can get a bit sidetracked with trying to make sure you get all those dollars that cover all those activities. We need to be conscious of that and conscious of expenses, but on the other hand, I think there's a real balance that needs to be achieved, and I think we've gotten much closer to that, certainly in recent years, as things have shown some recovery in the economy and revenues to the county. But I appreciate the discussion here. I certainly want to hear from Mr. Ossie and from anyone else who wants to weigh in on this. We've gotten a few pieces of correspondence from folks certainly speaking to why they think that Gibson Ranch is important and access for them and their families. And I guess I would just note lastly, this whole thing with the equestrian operation out there is Ms. Peters kind of helped us revisit that was not an easy discussion, and it was one that long after we had made a decision about how we were going to proceed in keeping it open, working with GRP, that still lingered, and there were people in these chambers and so forth. And so I think that whichever direction we go on this, that we need to tread softly on that, because I think that certainly can bring a lot of angst and maybe some pushback from folks depending upon how we approach that, because the sensitivities about that, people and their animals.
Yes.
Okay, with that then, I don't know if there's any other questions or comments at this point, so Supervisor Frost, you did have something else?
I just had a quick question relating to the park entry fee. That's for cars that enter the park, but people can walk. Maybe Mr. Ossie can speak to that. I mean, I think it's good to keep it affordable, because a lot of people, that's their recreation and they can't afford these fees. So my understanding is they can walk in, it's just an auto fee if they're driving in.
It is a vehicle parking fee for all of our park facilities. I will take an opportunity to also mention that we do have a low-income annual pass that's available for sale at our office for $10, so there is that option for those that qualify as well.
The annual pass is $10?
Correct, for those that qualify under our low-income policies, yes.
For the year?
Correct.
Oh, well, that's affordable.
It is.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ossie, I didn't have a speaker set, but I trust you want to speak to this. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Doug Ossie, Managing Partner, GRP 2011 LLC. We're the folks that actually operate Gibson Ranch. I want to thank you, first of all, for giving me the day off. I got to come down here and put on a suit and tie, and so far it's been nice. Does the visual thing still work here?
Yeah, it's on the white spot to your right there.
This thing or this thing?
No, the surface.
Table.
Oh, I'm going to have to put on my glasses. So.
Well, we can make it a little larger.
Right. Let me just, as I recall the questions, I want to work through them. Supervisor Peters described Gibson Ranch as a beast. Well, we're in beast mode every day, so I want to thank you for that.
I've seen you driving that tractor.
The insurance question, the way we have it structured now is that the county requires me to indemnify the county. So I have a policy. And when we have large events or events that I determine need insurance, I require from the promoter or the person doing that event to provide us with a certificate of insurance that names us, and then a second certificate that names the county as additional insured parties. The reason I brought the insurance up in the first place, it's my distinct understanding that the limits on my policy, as outlined in the lease, which I executed, are twice the limits that are imposed on nonprofit organizations. And I take exception to that, and that's why I brought it up. The total annual cost of my insurance for liability coverage is somewhere between $27,000 and $30,000 a year. On top of that, I have an equestrian policy, probably $6,000 to $10,000 a year. On top of that, I have workers' comp. That's somewhere around $35,000 a year.
What was the last one?
Workers' compensation.
Workers' comp. Okay.
And then on top of that, I have an umbrella policy just in case, which costs probably $6,000 a year. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to explore those coverages by any means, but those are the coverage limits. And I don't know what limits the county has on their individual policies. I will tell you, I'm not aware of any claim at Gibson Ranch over almost 6 years now that has gotten to the county in terms of settlement? Zero.
Well,
there have been claims, but they've never gotten to the county. Right?
I mean, the insurance costs seem like the difference between, somewhere in these documents, I was just looking for it, it showed how much profit and loss each year, which was roundly, as I remember, $25,000, $30,000 a year, except for 1 year. I mean, it seems like the insurance is the...
Well, keep in mind that the net results you're seeing there do not account for anything that you'd pay to have somebody like me out there. So if I hired somebody, essentially I'm filling that role at no cost. So it's $222,000, I think was the number in your report, plus a senior management person to execute the plan. But it's close. Now, as I understand the agreements you have for, say, the golf courses, you have a similar situation with the people you've hired to operate the different courses, where they provide the county with a liability policy and the like. And I think that's actually incorporated into the financial transaction. So,
Doug, does that make it different than what you just described with the golf courses? Does that make it different than what we're doing at Gibson Ranch?
It's a different,
when you said it was incorporated into.
It's a different operating template at the golf courses than at the ranch. At the golf courses, it's a fee for service.
Right, fee for service. Okay.
Where the operators basically run the golf course for the county, and then they submit an invoice for reimbursement at the end of each month, and they add a management fee. And that invoice presumably covers all their expenses. And then offsetting that is the revenue you get from the tee box and from the restaurants and from the pro shop and what have you. So that's my understanding.
Okay.
So going to this exhibit that I've put on the board here, just starting from the top where it says park, it's about 9,500 to 10,000 hours a year to generate $415,000 in revenue. Right? On the equestrian side, it's 3,500 to 4,000 hours a year to generate about $210,000. In 2015 and in 2016, we had over 100,000 visitors each year in the park. So I do not want to pass this point without expressing my compliments to the county for going out on a limb for whatever reason in 2011 and reopening that park, because you've got 100,000 people a year who are now enjoying that. That was a risky move on your part, and you should be complimented for having taken that step. And while I'm at the business of compliments, I want to extend my compliments to Mr. Leonard, Mr. Leatherman, Ms. Bellis, and Mr. Melton, who are the county parks team that I work with virtually on an everyday basis. They are responsive, they are protective of the county's interests, and they are willing to listen and sit down and talk problems through. Sometimes they get what they want, sometimes I get what I want, and sometimes we meet in the middle. But they have been excellent partners to work with. So going on down the list there, in 2016 we had over 30,000 vehicles enter the park. We collected $5 a vehicle from each of them. The people who came to the gate with the county pass was honored as it has been since day one. They are not included in those 30,000 vehicles. That's just the paying customers.
How many were they?
It's a bell curve, Supervisor Natoli. So over the course of a year, January and February are down at the bottom, and November and December are at the bottom.
Right.
But between March and October 31st, on a sunny day, you'll get 25 a day.
Using the regional pass?
Uh-huh. Weekends. Weekends.
Parks pass.
Yeah, the laminated, color-coded park pass.
Right.
You'll get 25 a day. So if you actually do the math, if it was 25 a day for all year, that'd be 45,000, but divide that by 2/3, so you're probably at $30,000 worth of revenue.
Did you keep track of all those, though? You said the average 25 days. Do you have a number? You have an actual count, though?
Yes.
Okay, you do.
If you'd like, I mean, I'd be happy to show you the...
No. Again, I'm just trying to get some sense, though, so if it's 30,000 vehicles total and it's 125, it's 25 a day times X. That's the average?
On a sunny day, we'll get 25 county parks passes.
Yeah.
So
That's the March through October
Yes.
scenario?
And it's okay. I mean, I took the deal knowing that.
No, I know. I'm just trying to get some sense about what that means to the overall, to the usage. One is good because I think it gives you a sense of folks that are, either buy the pass and use Gibson exclusively, or going to different parks in the system, depending upon.
Well, in addition to the county's pass, which does give the holders the opportunity to go to any of the county parks, right, which, by the way, they do very much appreciate, we sell a Gibson Ranch Social Club pass that is good only at the park for people who use only that park. So people that might be a mile or two radius around the park. And frankly, I think we're at 110 of those per year, maybe.
What's the cost of that?
Same as the county's, $49. So, but it's people who only use Gibson. And we
They would be
ask them
paying the $5 fee.
Yeah, they avoid the $5 fee, and instead they pay us $49. So, I mean, those are nuances and details, and it's only 110 or so, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So going on...
They use more than 10 days a year.
Right, then it benefits them, right.
So going on down the list here, at the bottom you see just a sampling of what kind of things happen at the park. And I will tell you from firsthand interviews with the folks who come to the park, they come from each of your districts. From Elk Grove, we get a huge number of Boy Scouts. From Supervisor Kennedy's district, we get the Hmong and the Lao. They come twice a year, and they enjoy it. From the Thomas and what have you, we get Boy Scouts. From the city core, under weddings, we get all sorts of gay wedding events. From Carmichael, we get Boy Scouts and family reunions. And from the 4th district, we get all of the above. I mean, it's just the description of the park as a community asset is appropriate. It's a beast. It really is, and we run it accordingly. We don't. I do want to make sure you understand. We don't bat 1,000. Seriously, we don't bat 1,000. There are some things we don't do. There are some people who we can't meet their needs. I'd say we bat somewhere around 850, which is pretty good. We provide our own security. We monitor behavior. When someone's not behaving appropriately, we invite them to leave, and we back it up. We run the equestrian side. We have about 50 horses boarded there now. It's a grind because it's every day, as you might expect. Horses don't get a day off. What I want to leave you with before we take questions is a suggestion, and that is to give staff direction to work their magic, meet with me, figure out a solution to the interim period of time that Supervisor Cerna referenced, using your word to tease out where that line of going back to an RFP or not having to go back to an RFP is. And let's make a decision as to whether or not, under those conditions, I'm willing to continue. Because you can always go back to the RFP. I actually think that if we can't meet that line, you need to go back to an RFP. Because you have so much more information available to a potential operator today about how things work than we had in 2011. We were just out on thin ice. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'd be happy to take your questions.
Thanks, Doug. I just had a question for staff about, and I think Supervisor Frost wants to speak to this as well, but in the initial lease arrangement, we had $500,000 for capital improvements for long deferred maintenance and projects that obviously both the lessor and lessee would, get some agreement around. There was a list. So has that money been fully expended? I trust the list was multiples times that, and we had for years discussions about the second access and so forth. But where are we with that? Has that money been expended? Because we're now in year 6. There was 5 years at $100,000. Not all those projects got done in that first year. I know Doug could respond to, but where do we stand as relates to that? Because while we're in this holdover period, whatever period that time is, if we're not putting additional money into capital improvements, it doesn't speak to the current operator as much as it does to the owner of the asset, the county, that I think it's in our best interest to continue to put improvements. However, we're going to maintain it, because I think it's pretty clear we're going to maintain that in open condition. But we have a lot of deferred maintenance in many of our facilities. So where are we with that?
So the $500,000 was made available as per the terms of the contract. About $200,000 of that was spent within the 5-year window that it was available, and the remainder of the money is no longer available based on the contract and was put back into the general fund for allocation by your board.
So okay, then I want to go drill a little further then. So we put money aside. It required obviously concurrence, I believe, under the but it's still a county-owned asset, and so we had identified up to $500,000 of improvements, and there was a lot of deferred maintenance out there. That's being very gentle about. At least that's my take on it. So why wouldn't we have then found projects that, again, would have benefited the property? Yeah. You really got my curiosity. We didn't even spend half of the money on capital improvements when we know there's, you could walk out there today and find the identified need for capital improvements.
Yeah. So I'll let Mr. Rossi tackle that one, as it was money that was available to him as the operator.
Okay.
So the arrangement, the concept behind the $500,000 was the county wasn't having to lay out $200,000 for the closed park, so we took half of that each year for 5 years and dedicated it for capital improvements, fixing the deferred maintenance.
Right.
We spent $200 doing different things. And I want, again, before we go past this point, every single thing I asked for with the county staff and explained to them, they said, okay, every single thing. There were things they asked me to do that I didn't do because I didn't have the staff to get it done, and I wasn't willing to go to a third-party contractor to complicate the process. That was my decision, not theirs. The money that didn't get spent did get returned to the general fund, and it's still there, presumably.
I think it probably got spent.
Again, my point here is that staff and I worked together.
Yeah.
My team got the work done. We did it efficiently and at a reasonable cost. We didn't just throw money at stuff. Are there things that need to be done still? The answer is yes. We did not get to everything that I'd hoped we'd get to.
Well, again, I know there were some differences about, regrading and, all that. But if you had money available that could be drawn upon, even if it was to make other improvements beyond just, long deferred maintenance, why wouldn't we, particularly when parks scraps for dollars anyway, again, recognize it required, operation might have been some other obligations taken on if you added certain things. I get that, but when I recall that physical plant, that large site, and, just looking at normal road maintenance for entry roads, for fencing, for the cabins, they were in pretty lousy shape. Now they've been repaired, and that may have been part of what was invested in, but I guess, or the old swimming hole, I guess I'm curious as to, it's a little, you talk about unique, a little unique that somehow we wouldn't find in a facility long before you were in the picture, had a lot of deferred maintenance, and over a course of an ensuing 6 years that we wouldn't find the ability beyond what the operator would do to identify for the asset that we retain, irrespective of who operates it, to invest the additional $300,000 in without stepping on the toes of the party that's leasing it from us, to actually make those improvements. What about the second gate?
Mr. Chairman, if I could respond to that, because Jeff tried, but again, there's a certain amount of work that my team can handle, and we did the work that I thought we could handle in a pace that I thought we could handle. On the roadways themselves and on the flood protection improvements, not only the stuff along Dry Creek, but also along the dam road, those were specifically carved out of that list of projects, if you will, that was eligible for deferred maintenance funding under our agreement. And when we got to the end of the agreement time period, we stopped. So, I mean, it's just, I don't think anybody purposefully set out to not do it.
No, I'm not showing any intent. My question is not about intent or anything. I'm just trying to get some sense of it, because when I remember the shade structures and...
There was a shade structure that collapsed, and we removed it for safety reasons. It has not been replaced. Jeff has asked me to replace it. I have said to him, it makes no difference from a revenue standpoint whether that shade structure is there or not. So we haven't replaced it. I never pursued it because it made no difference to revenue. I was still renting that spot weekend after weekend after weekend.
But what about convenience for the folks that use the park? I mean, sometimes it may not just be about whether
it tends to get hot around here.
Yeah, I've been to Gibson Ranch in the summertime. He said it tends to get hot around here in the summer. Yeah,
definitely.
Well, if we're going to have a report back on this, I guess I'd like to, again, this is not so much about why it didn't get done as it is to, the money was there, and, and maybe that obligation then fell to you as a part of the contract. So if you chose not to do it for whatever reason, good reasons or otherwise, then it didn't get done. But again, I still take it back to the asset itself. And again, if a shade structure fell down or was dismantled, it may not make any difference as far as a rental, but it may offer some additional convenience or shaded area for folks that use it. Now, again, it may not discourage if they're looking for a place to rent, then they go find a tree somewhere. I mean, rarely do you see us, particularly with the capital improvement, if you had a project list, why we wouldn't, do some of those things. I get it. You were managing it and operating it, but I guess I'd like to kind of know what that list was and what was kind of left on the table, and the money I assume it got reprogrammed?
So we have the complete list of the deferred maintenance projects that were accomplished throughout the first 5 years that we can provide, as you suggested, as we come back and continue to revisit this item, as well as we can compare and contrast that with the list from the lease agreement so that you can see the difference in what was accomplished throughout the contract term.
Well, then we're completing year 6. I mean, it's almost to the day when this agreement was approved by the board, March 22nd of 2011. And we were talking about a holdover status, which would take us potentially into 18 months with no capital projects. I guess I want to know about that. That needs to be a part of the discussion, I think. Then to me, that's, maintaining the public asset and, whether it's GRP or county parks, because that does get built into it, because we had this kind of baseline at $315,000 for operation, but it didn't take into account things that compete then for money in your department, Jeff, relative to a whole inventory of parks assets that have capital investment needs and or certainly deferred maintenance in a number of cases. And I guess when this comes back, I want to have some conversation about, because going forward, I think it's an important consideration for not only what we do, but then how we craft something that may have that as a part of its consideration. And certainly from if county parks are going to operate it, I want to know that too, because it's more than just people out there mowing the grass and collecting the fee and making sure the fence boards are painted. There's a lot that goes into an operation. You know that far better than I. So
understood.
Okay, Ms. Frost, you have a question? I think you didn't punch up. I thought you were. Or do you want to?
Well, Jeff, with your recommendation, are you talking about a management? Basically, the county takes it over and then contracts out for services for different functions that the county, like the equestrian and so forth. What services would you contract out?
That's correct. What we're reviewing right now and considering as part of our recommendation would be contracting out the equestrian facility and the equestrian operation, as well as the kind of basic maintenance function, along with some specialized special event function as well. I would not classify it as a management fee type agreement. It is more of a county management with looking for ways to maximize our operational capacity. And so it wouldn't be something that we would have a overall RFP for, but there are certain functions that we would have to contract out, such as mowing of the grass, looking at the equestrian operation and see what kind of function that potentially has, whether it be a full RFP process or if it would be a contract services that we can do under signature authority here at the county.
And I have the impression that you and Mr. Ossie have been talking and that any of these scenarios are acceptable. Is that correct, or what is your desire, Doug?
My desire is to stop losing money. So I'm willing to stay, but I have to stop losing money. I can't subsidize it. And I know that...
So you don't have any preference as to the outcome?
Well, there's such a wide number of avenues you can go, which Jeff and I have talked about briefly. I don't know which one's preferable because I'm not quite sure.
Are you
what
saying
the end state is.
if he were made financially whole, would he like to continue as operating the park?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. Does he want to do it?
I've told Mr. Leonard and Mr. Leatherman that we're not going to leave this thing in the lurch here. I mean, going to Supervisor Cerna's point about a lapse, we're not going to have that. You know, we're just not going to have that. But I'm not going to lose any more money.
Okay.
Well, the two recommendations, Alternative 1 and the GRP 2, I don't know how they really stack up. I'm not sure how they stack up, and if
Can I make a suggestion?
there's a way to...
I think everybody's interests would be served here by directing staff to go back and sit down with me to address first an interim arrangement that would commence on May 1st, and then allow staff time to set up a structure that leads to an RFP, while at the same time teasing out with county council whether or not an RFP is necessary.
Okay.
That's what I recommend.
And the RFP, is that like a typical, you have to go with, how do you determine, the bottom line decision on an RFP like that? Is that like we do with contractors and projects, the lowest qualified bid, or is it, the most qualified person, or how does that RFP work?
Well, first we look at the nature of the scope of the existing agreements and how material those changes are. When we come to a successful RFP, it will be those proposals that best fit the board-approved requirements.
And I have the impression no matter what we do, we're going for an RFP. We need to.
Not unless we decide to go with county operation.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. And are you good with that, Jeff? I mean, you're recommending Alternative 1.
So if the board chooses to direct the staff, further down an RFP process, or as Mr. Ossie suggested, an interim process, we're going to carry out the direction of the board as appropriate, and happy to do so.
I think it's nice of you, Doug, to offer to transition so that we don't have to close the park, because that's important to everyone.
We're not going to close this park. I got too much investment.
I really appreciate that.
I'd like to get more in the mode of this being an interim situation, that county staff goes back with Mr. Ossie and works out the financial details so they're more understandable, and see if there's, get the transition 6 month on the table, but then as soon as that is done, then to work towards a more, a scenario where he could stay running the park in some way. I don't know what that might be, and then if that doesn't work out,
go to RFP.
That he wants it, then we go to RFP. I just don't think there's been enough homework done here that's understandable to us. So,
Yeah, I was going to offer a similar suggestion. Let's see if there's any more questions of Doug first. We do have a speaker on this, and then let's bring it back to the board to give some additional direction. I appreciate Ms. Peters coming. Doug, anything else? Anything else?
Come visit us at the park.
Okay.
it's lawn mowing time, isn't it, about, is March?
You'll accept the county pass, right?
You won't need a pass.
Oh, yes, we do.
I know who you are.
Oh, yes, we do.
You'll be able to get in.
No. Either $5 or a county pass. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Stern, I'm sorry. Yes.
Excuse me. Before we get to the speakers, just wanted to ask Jeff, how confident does Jeff feel that if the county were to run operations, that we could appropriately budget for and operate the park at least in the same manner that Mr. Ossie has managed it the last 6 years, if not at an elevated level, given our financial situation today versus 6 years ago?
So given the overall county's financial situation, we're in a position and moving towards a position with, as I look at our recommendations with the service review report that we've put forward to the board, and the future of regional parks, we're continuing to build capacity in our department to take on additional responsibility. So I am confident that we can resume operations there under a different model than we've used in the past, and I think that's the key response that I want to leave the board with, is that it's not exactly the same as what we've done it in the past, is that there are some responsibilities that are more administrative than it was before as far as our contracting would go, but I do believe we have that capacity to take it on. As far as generating the same amount of revenue, Doug has done a great job of selling that park to our community. We are building that capacity within our department to do the same in our other parks and facilities. The challenge really lies, has been pointed out, the equestrian operations are a difficult one, and one that I wouldn't advocate for county staff to take on, that we would contract that out.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Nothing further questions. I do have one speaker signed up on this, and James Warsnip. James? I'll put 3 minutes up on the... Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Notali. James Worsnop here. I think Gibson Ranch is a great asset for the county if managed properly. I just have a couple of questions. I don't understand why the county has privatized the management of the park in the first place. I think that there's additional sources of revenue in a lot of our parks in the county here, and other land that is owned by the county, and you're not best utilizing the resources of the county. So I kind of question that. And the last thing is gift of public funds. I just don't understand why a private operator would split the costs with the county when the county's maintaining and has all the costs up front. It doesn't seem like a very good business venture. Those are just some of the questions that I have.
Okay, good. Thanks, James. We appreciate that. We'll be back with this item, it sounds like, here in the near to mid-term future. So, okay. Anyone else wish to comment on this item, on item 50? Ma'am, did you want to talk to this item?
Yes.
Okay, please come forward, and you can fill out speaker form later. Just identify yourself, if you would, please.
Shannon Brown.
Hi,
Right now I have my resident of Sacramento County hat on, but I serve on the board of directors for Sunrise Recreation and Park District. I also am the operations manager for the City Department of Parks and Recreation. Okay. And I would just like to make a comment that I was working with Doug Ossie at the time. I was an employee at the county when they were looking to close, and we were very grateful that Mr. Ossie took, a risk with our community, and I think that he has done adequate work. It has been a challenge to, keep those revenues up, but I hope that the Board of Supervisors recognizes the importance of this park within our community. We are a very tight-knit community, and it is a very important jewel of ours that we would like to keep intact and would like to preserve the open space for future generations. So just want to make sure that I'm speaking for the residents of Antelope, the county, and my children as well. So thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Shannon, for being here to offer your comments. Okay, anyone else? We had 2 speakers. Jeff, did you want to speak on this item? Okay. Jeff Tardigia. I had you signed up. I wasn't sure what item you wanted to speak to, so.
I do want to speak further about, because I'm going to be at a legislative hearing at 2:30.
Right, I was going to call on you at the end of this item.
But dealing with this 40 years ago, went to Gibson Park, and I will say that, yes, indeed, it is the asset that you have at the north end in the way of parks. And as last night, participating in the specific plan for downtown Sacramento, note that big discussion was about parks and the open spaces. And so I think this is a very important asset for the county in the North region, and remembering going there when I was going to Sac State. So it's just a comment further is please, it is very important, and that's why we want to speak to this. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thanks, Jeff. We'll get back to you in a moment on the other item. Okay, anyone else wish to address this item? If not, then I'll bring it back to the board and get members' comments. It sounds like we are headed in a direction here today, though, to entertain some further discussions with the current operator regarding some holdover status. And then I think with the questions that have both been posed by board members, but certainly been a part of the discussion, and those that have been presented by the audience, we entertained a report back at a period probably even prior to May 1st, if it was some holdover, but and then some determination sometime thereout that you would say we're going to work on an extended agreement of some sort, going out to an RFP, further consideration for county operations, but again, not closure. And so, I don't know, Nav, something you wanted to sum up, and then we'll go to board member comments. So.
I think feedback we've gotten is to see if we can get an interim agreement. At the same time, see what the RFP will look like and come back to you in the near future to at least present the interim solution and then keep working on the long-term solution.
Okay. All right, board members. Does that seem sufficient then at this point in time? When would you anticipate a report back? You want to set a date to continue this to? Or you want to?
If you can give us a little bit of flexibility, and we'll schedule it as quickly as we can.
All right. But again, very clear that there will be an interim arrangement that we've heard from Mr. Oates, we've certainly heard from county staff, that we're going to, Gibson Ranch will be open, and all those sunny days to come, we'll have an opportunity for folks to use that park in a variety of ways. So,
yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Sar.
Mr. Gills, do you expect to bring this back before budget, or is that even relevant in your estimation?
No, it's kind of divorced from the budget at this point. I think the interim agreement, we should get that to you prior to budget, and the long term could be a budget discussion. So we'll see what options we have on the table.
Thank you.
Okay, then I think it's clear on the direction here today. We want to thank our staff, and we're not taking one option over the the other here today, and would direct our county executive then to continue to work on this, bring it back to us. With at least a status report in the next couple of months, and then I'll seek direction depending upon what you're going to recommend to us for the long term on this at that point as well. Okay. So do we need to take any other action on this today? All right. Okay, that's clear then. Okay. Thank you all for your comments and for being here today, and we'll take those into consideration as well. So, all right, that takes care of the morning agenda items. I do have an off-agenda speaker, Mr. Tardigie, in a moment, but Flo, is there anything else we need to do for the morning agenda?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay. All right, then, Jeff, I know you wanted to be here for the afternoon session, are unable to, so I'm going to put you 3 minutes on the board here, and you're going to comment, and you'll be the first speaker on items 51 and 52, I guess. So go ahead.
Well, as Jeff Tardigia, I would love to be here this afternoon in speaking further, and so the 3 questions I'm going to direct to the board that I would be interested in hearing you ask for dealing with the homeless, and that is, 1, beyond you and I feel Cerna going to San Francisco, have you looked at the San Diego, but the San Diego model for the homeless? The second one I'm going to direct and ask you is my understanding Sacramento Housing, after 10 years, has reviewed the 70-plus families and reduced that list to a significant, believing coming closer to 20,000 families now. Would like to ask, what the criteria of removing from the waiting list currently on this. The other thing I will also direct to you is obviously clearly the homeless is a long time, should we say, unrecognized need, and so I appreciate what's going on and happening in that regard. I won't be here this afternoon because I will be at a state legislative meeting, 437, that is going to be discussing SSI, SSP, and COLA. I think that's a meeting that on the state level that I think it's more important for me to bring to discussion and offer. And again, I appreciate some of your county board members directing me to remind me that there are things that affect the county and should be spoken. And I'm no lobbyist, but I advocate intensely and remind them of unintentional consequences of actions that occur both ways. And I just thought that was important, something. And I will remind both. Thank you, Don, for your history, and Patrick and Phil will remind you that HUD considered under that criteria that there was a Title VI issue, even with 70,000 related to senior and single black individual households, as well as some others. And yet, guys, for regional transit, you just made a one-line goober on Title VI issues. So it's interesting to hear the criteria of HUD's and wondering what the FTA's criteria to resolve of what is significant and not. And I just bring that to you as County Board of Supervisors in your ongoing. And again, I serve at your pleasure, and if there's something more I can do, I will do my best to be involved. So thank you, guys, and I hope you have a good lunch. And yes, also trying to get people to speak about Meals on Wheels is what's coming out of our Mr. T. And I'm sorry, as a Mr. T, that's the way I address Mr. T at this point in time. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Good luck at the Capitol today. So appreciate your advocacy and your appearance at our hearings. And
I will attempt to speak at the city tonight.
Okay. All right. You got a full day ahead of you then, so be careful out there.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. With that, I don't have any other speakers signed up for the morning session, and we do not have a closed session. No closed session today, so we will then recess until the afternoon session, coming back here at 2 o'clock. Good. All right.